Hey, good morning. It's Kathy, the vegan prepper here. At least it's good morning to me. It's morning right now. I don't know what it is where you are, but whatever it is, I hope it's good. So today I have a bit of a to-do list, and I thought I'd film just a little bit of the process of some of these things. It's, I guess, going to be kind of a day in the life video if it ever even gets put up. You guys would not believe how many videos I start that I don't put up. For whatever reason. But today I really want to get this one done. So it's something that sort of came up because I just recently had another person tell me, I don't know how you do it all. And I just, I guess I appreciate that. I appreciate the sentiment, because, you know, I guess it makes me feel a little better because I personally feel like I never get anything done. And that's my perception, even though I can look logically and say that is not true. I get a lot done, but I never get as much done as I want to get done. And I think that that is why I live with this assumption that I never accomplish anything I set out or I want to accomplish. And I always feel, for me personally, I do end up a lot of times feeling that feeling like I'm not good enough, like I haven't done enough, because I haven't done, you know, what I wanted to do. And so I guess I figured I would just mention that just because I guess I want it to be really clear, I don't do it all. But I have prioritized certain things in my life. And so for instance, my kids and my husband are always going to be priority over tasks, which doesn't mean that I don't do my tasks. Dishes have to get done, laundry has to get done, and all of that stuff. But if it's a choice between, you know, mopping the floor and spending time with one of my kids, I do spend time with one of my kids. And then, you know, the floor can always get mopped later, right? Stuff like that. I don't know, but when it does come to things like dishes and laundry, that is those things get pretty prioritized. And so I don't know if maybe I should start doing some videos that kind of highlight, you know, my, I guess almost my mental flow chart of priorities. Because there's always if this is true, then do this. If that's true, then do this. If it's not true, then do, and it's this mental flow chart that I go through in order to get some stuff done. And I don't know if I should try to write it down or what, but I will say as a little tip that the number one is if I have a few minutes and I'm looking around my house and I think, what should I do? Number one is always dishes. Always. If there are dishes to be done, dishes are what I need to do. Because that is the thing that is the most constant and kind of permanent job that needs to get taken care of. And it used to be you know, back in my early days of being married and, you know, many, many years ago, and just a young mom, you know, running my house by myself for my first time and all of that, that used to be something that was really overwhelming to me. But I started changing my focus because I realized, you know, the reason that we have this much of a mess, the reason we have this many dishes is because we always have food. We always have enough food. There are people who are wishing and praying for meals. There are parents in places in the world who are having to decide day by day, which child do I feed today with the food that I have? And, you know, I think about people who are in those situations and things like that. And then suddenly I find myself, I'm getting all teary-eyed. I find myself so grateful for every dish that I have to do, because it means that we're provided for and we are taken care of. We are so blessed. Every single one of those dishes is such a blessing to me. And I just am so overwhelmed with gratitude. That does not mean that it's not a job. I'm still let's be real, it's still a lot of work. But, you know, kind of putting it into that perspective, being grateful for what's been provided to me rather than angry about the job I have to do because of that provision. And it just sort of takes on a whole new thing. And then suddenly I'm very happy to do those dishes. But, I just want to say, yeah, that it is a constant thing, and also to let go of the notion that you will ever get that kitchen clean. It's not going to be clean. It can be reset, maybe. Like occasionally there will be that holy grail moment where you look around and there is not another dish to be found. And then all of a sudden a kid walks up with the dish that they left in their room and you didn't know about. And now there's another dish out on your counter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so impermanent. Like, but again, it's a blessing. But sort of just kind of disavow yourself of that notion that this is ever going to be clean, because I think, or actually I shouldn't say clean. What I mean is done. That the idea that the job is ever done, it's not done ever. So, you know, anyway, just sort of like let it go. And then I think that helps a lot. So I didn't mean to talk so much about that, but I think a lot of times people get really frustrated about the dishes. So I thought I would share that. But yeah, that is kind of number one on the flow chart. If there's any spare minute, go in the kitchen, wash a pan, do something. And then that's the only thing that kind of keeps it flowing. But for today, I do have, like I said, a few things on my list, and I thought I would, like my little list I made this morning, I thought I would share my list. So number one thing I want to accomplish today, oh, you know, I forgot to talk about a different thing, but let me go ahead and talk about this first, and I'll get back to the other thing. I want to ferment a bunch of garlic. So I have these garlic cloves that have been sitting for a little while. And it was actually in the comments having a conversation with Kathy in the comments on one of my other videos. I'm trying to remember which video it was. But anyway, it doesn't matter. And she was bringing up that she does a lot of fermenting. And I don't do a ton of fermenting. But some of the fermenting I do is sauerkraut. And I also really love fermented garlic. And it reminded me, oh yeah, I have all this garlic that I'm wanting to ferment. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get that done today. And hopefully what I have here is enough to make just like a quart jar, because it is a really big job. And I decided to start doing it just like a quart at a time rather than trying to do giant bushels of it. So I'm going to be doing some fermented garlic. That's kind of my number one for today. And then I have some sprouted spelt, which I need to get out of my dehydrator because it's all done sprouting and drying, and it just needs to get packaged up, which doesn't sound like a big job, but it is, because I have to find a jar. So I gotta like figure out my jar situation. It's serious, you guys. It's very serious. And then also I have some fresh turmeric and ginger, which I need to get frozen. So that should be really easy, just to wash it and get it flat and then into the freezer. And then that's a great way to keep it good. And then you can use a lot of fresh turmeric and ginger in your recipes. And one of the main things that I like to do with it is because I cut it into like little 1-inch chunks usually before I freeze it. And then for my recipes, like especially all the Indian food that we do and whatnot, I'll just take those little frozen chunks of ginger and turmeric out of the freezer and then just toss them in a blender, usually like with some tomato paste or other spices or whatever. And I blend up a sauce, and then I just cook that sauce. So then I never even have to do cutting it or peeling it, because actually I don't peel it because I use organic. And so then that works out really well, and it's super easy. And so that's one of the ways that I get that into our diet without it being too much of a pain in the butt. And then I might start a sauerkraut, because we've been without sauerkraut for a while, but it keeps being like delayed and set aside because I just have too much else going on. And then the garlic thing too, the other thing with the fermented garlic, which I'll probably talk about when I actually sort of do a little bit of the process for you guys, is it makes it so convenient because you have these already pre-peeled whole cloves of garlic like in your fridge, just ready to go for your recipe. So if something calls for, 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, all you have to do is fish it out and use it. Like, it's amazing. So that ends up saving me a lot of time and energy and effort, which is why I will prioritize that over something like the sauerkraut. Because even though it's nice to have, it's not like it saves me a lot of time. I don't know if that makes sense. But the holy grail thing for today will be the Forever Foods video. If I could get that done today, I will be over the moon. So my boys are getting ready to leave for summer camp, and they are leaving tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be without them for at least a week. And then if I don't have them, then obviously I don't have anyone to keep Sage occupied. And speak of the angel. Hi. I don't have anyone to keep her occupied. So that means I can't really film like real videos. I can only film like I'm talking and she's like right here. And so that's fine, but I want to get that done because I've been wanting to get it done, but I'm like feeling crunch time now because they're about to leave. So I feel like I've got to get this done. And then mentioning them leaving for camp brings me back to the part that I forgot, kind of back to how do you do it all? And the thing is, I don't, but I'm always very flexible. And so like today I was already planning on doing some laundry. I have to wash a load of towels and I need to go ahead and wash, you know, we have a hamper's worth of dirty laundry in our room that I need to wash. But both of my boys need to do laundry before camp. They do their own laundry. Because I don't know, they're old enough. And so they do some of their own chores. But it's just funny. So it's kind of like last minute. Oh yeah, I need to do laundry too. Oh yeah, I need to do laundry too. And it's like, okay, fine. I guess I don't get my washer today. So I can't do the thing I was originally planning. And so when stuff like that happens, I don't like throw up my hands and say, oh, I can't do whatever. Actually, I really hate that phrase. I can't in my own head. I'm always asking, well, so what can I do? What can I do then? It's kind of like almost with the dish thing. Like I was just describing, like if I have a few minutes, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? And then I look at the kitchen, number one. And if there's a thing to do in the kitchen, then I go do that, you know? But yeah, always asking, what can I do? What can I do? And then I think you get a lot more accomplished than you would otherwise. Yeah. Okay. This is really long, but I think I'm going to post this at least because I feel like this was pretty good. At least I hope it's helpful to somebody. Also, yeah, like I don't mean to set myself up like I'm some paragon who just does it all and is so amazing at everything. Like I also do not do things like I said, I can't do my laundry today and stuff like that. So, but I can make some fermented garlic and freeze my turmeric and my ginger, and then hopefully film a video about some forever foods. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna go and actually get started on this process with this garlic. Okay, so I thought I would show you this little garlic peeler in action. And it's working really great. I've already got that much done and it's been pretty fast. So this little thing will work great just as a cooking tool. Like if you have a recipe that calls for a few cloves of garlic, this can help a lot. And it's even seeming to help with this kind of larger job. So I'm really excited about that. But basically the gist is you put the clove in, apply some gentle pressure as you roll, and then it takes the peel off for you. And it was that easy. So anyway, I just thought I would point this out, and I can leave a link down below to one that's similar to what I got. And yeah, just wanted to show that off. All right, so that amount of garlic didn't get me quite a full quart, but I have a little bit of other garlic around here, and hopefully it's not too old. I'm gonna go look at that now. But I will go ahead and also start a brine. So I need to do a brine of 1 quart of water and 2 tablespoons of sea salt. So this is definitely a recipe I need to write down because I keep using this and I keep going to the website for it. So that is definitely something I need to do. I need to write down the method instead of going to the website in case I ever lose access to the website. But yes, I will go ahead and get that started, and I will actually have done the fermented garlic today. Yay! I did a thing. Okay, I'm getting the sun oven set up to cook up some lunch for us. Basically, I'm going to be reheating some potatoes and some vegan meatless meatballs that I got at the Whole Foods Deli. It's going to be, they're like cherry barbecue sauce meatless meatballs, and they're delicious. And the sauce is going to be my canned pinto beans and molasses sauce, which are actually really delicious. And I'm going to get those into some bakeware and stick them in here to heat up. And it's so funny, like I'm watching the red go up just as I'm standing here. It's heating all the way past already. It's at 125 just from me standing here doing this. And so yeah, the sun is focused on the little thing in there, which is what gives it the heat. So I have kind of a personal challenge for myself. Okay, let me switch. I don't know how interesting it is to just stare at the sun oven. I want to do an entire week of off-grid cooking. I'm working towards even more almost off-grid style living, even though I'm still here in the city and I'm still on grid. And for me, it's not just a prepping thing as far as disasters go. It's a prepping actually for if all of our dreams come true and we end up being able to buy, you know, a rural property and live more off-grid. And I've said this, we've talked about this before in many videos, that we don't want to be like fish out of water. It's like tossed into the deep end, learn how to swim. Like, we're trying to live that life now as much as we possibly can, even though we are still in a city. And so yeah, starting to do more and more of this, but it's interesting, the challenges that are inherent in that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and get food into some pans and show you guys what it looks like, and then get that into the sun oven to get heated for us. And yeah, the thing is already over, it's already at 150 now, so it'll be fast. So I'm going to go ahead and get in there, get some stuff chopped up and get it in here, and then within a little while we will have some nice heated lunch that we didn't have to run any power for. So yeah. Okay, so here we are back ready to put stuff in the oven. It's been preheating, I guess maybe 15-ish, 20-ish minutes, just while I got everything cut up. It is already at 300 degrees and it looks like it's climbing higher as well. So this is hopefully going to be done actually pretty quick. But I'm using these 2 loaf pans. This is the highest volume of food that I am able to fit in the sun oven. It is kind of small inside. It doesn't fit a lot of larger pans. But for us and what we have right now, this is a pretty decent volume of food that feeds us pretty well. So I've just got some cut up, pre-cooked tomatoes, or not tomatoes, potatoes. My pinto beans and molasses sauce, which again are pretty good. I can talk about those again in a second. And then some of these like cherry barbecue sauce meatball things I was talking about. So anyway, I guess it's time to go ahead and get them in the oven. And so I've got helpers. And we're gonna do that. But yeah, get it in there. And so you do have to use an oven mitt because it's really hot. And then yeah, I just sort of gently set them in on the tray. I don't know if you want to do it, Elliot, or you just want Thad to do it. Go in and yeah, there we go. Good deal. So yeah, close it back up, and I guess we'll be checking it every 20 minutes to a half hour anyway to adjust the window and make sure that it's still directly in line with the sun, and then that way it'll maintain the highest possible temperature. So hopefully we will have food 100% cooked and heated through within 30 or 40 minutes, I hope. It might take as long as an hour. Sometimes it takes a little longer, and the temperature is going to drop a bit because we just put the food in. But yeah, anyway, off grid reheating of food, I guess. Yay. Okay, so I have gotten, okay, so sun oven food. Sorry, I've tried to take this take like 5 times. I'm kind of scattered because I don't really know exactly what I was talking about. There's probably going to be an outtake. You guys are going to see some of that. But anyway, basically I've got the food on the sun oven. I also made a nice giant fruit salad to go with that. So it's not just the potatoes and the fake meatballs and the beans. It's not only like kind of the heavier foods. There's also going to be some lighter food along with it. And so I made it like kind of a giant batch because with both boys home, the fruit salad just disappears. So that's going to be part of that meal. But I kind of alluded to it when I was out checking the food that I was going to talk to you guys about kind of some difficulties when I got back inside. And so this is something that I am still kind of trying to work out for myself. And I'm realizing that the more rural and kind of natural our lives become, even in the middle of the city, and the more I work towards achieving this lifestyle that we say that we want, you know, like we say we're pretty sure we want to live off grid, but of course I don't know that that's true. So a lot of it is trying to figure it out now before we actually, make the move. We're still a couple years away from being able to move or do anything, just because we committed to staying here until my son finishes his first 4 years of college. And so we want to stay and provide him a place to live while he's going to school. And so that is very important to me. And I want to make sure that he has a good place. And I know kids move out all the time, but it's like, if we can take away that expense and he doesn't have to earn all of that, I feel like that is something that I want to do for him, especially because we were not in the position to pay for his college. And I guess that's something I used to be really ashamed about, but I realized I think a lot of people are there, especially nowadays, and especially with how expensive it has gotten. Man, what a racket. Never mind. Well, that's a whole other subject. Woo, I was about to have an opinion. But anyway, he's going on scholarship. So he's just an incredible, excellent young man. And he is scholarship full ride all the way. So thank you, Jesus. That was like such a huge blessing. And so we're providing him a place to live. We couldn't provide the college, but we will provide his home. So anyway, I don't know. I didn't have to say any of that. But that's a little bit of what our situation is. And so that is what I want to do as his mom, and Adam too as his dad. So anyway, but like I said, we're moving closer and closer to this lifestyle, more and more attempting to live that style. So like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now with Azure Standard, ordering everything in bulk, it's for the prepping, but also because I am now, another kind of goal, I have so many goals, right? But another goal of mine that's kind of in my head is to work towards only grocery shopping once a month. And because I feel like that is something that we would end up doing if we lived in a more kind of rural area. Now, it might not be something that we can achieve specifically in the city, because like I don't have a million fruit trees giving us produce. I don't have all that, so I'm still kind of figuring all that out. So that maybe it would be like once a month we get all of our dry bulk goods, or canned goods or whatever. And then we're allowed to go out maybe once every 2 weeks for produce or something like that. Like just produce. So I don't really know what that looks like, but that's kind of like what we're working out now. So it's just kind of like piece by piece, we're changing our lives, to match this new idea. But it's interesting because obviously we do still live in a city. So I have this very rural life, and I find myself like not leaving my house, and I'm fine with that because I'm busy and I'm doing things. But then it's like there's all these expectations of all these things around, where you go to this meeting or this thing or that thing or whatever, and you're involved in something, and then they say, oh, we need to have a meeting, or oh, we need to do this. And in 2020, it was fantastic, actually. Not that I'm saying that 2020 was like fantastic. I'm just saying like one of the things about 2020 that I think I appreciate so much is the fact that literally everything was on Zoom. So it didn't matter what, what I had going on. I could be making my sourdough and still attending the meeting at church on Zoom, so I'm still involved in the meeting, still knowing what's going on, still talking, and still whatever. And it was such an amazing thing for my life to not have to actually leave to go take care of things. But now things are kind of opening back up. And I'm finding myself more and more being drawn back out of my house. And it was something, like I said, just sort of in the last few days, I sort of had that realization, like, oh my gosh, it's like, because I'm having the demands of kind of a rural and like off-grid wannabe existence in the middle of still a very urban setting with people who are urban, right? They have urban expectations and urban lives. They don't understand the work that goes into doing everything by hand and doing everything yourself, and all of the stuff. So like, for instance, I have a thing in my head where literally every day I do something that gets me ahead. It was a concept I learned, years ago. I think it was originally like Tony Robbins or something. And he was talking about the difference between speed and velocity. And it really hit me as, even though just like as a stay-at-home mom, that feeling of constantly going, but like nothing ever really getting accomplished. And so like you can have a huge amount of speed and just be on a treadmill, or just be like on a hamster wheel and just be like standing still, just going and never making any progress. But the difference though between speed and velocity is that velocity is a measurement of speed over distance. So you're moving fast, but then it's like also moving forward at the same time. And that hit me. And I started looking at my life and how much of it was just kind of like busy work that just kept me in the same place, and it didn't actually move me forward. And so I started figuring out the little things that I could do every day. So like we did talk a little bit earlier about the dishes, and I've mentioned laundry. Anybody who is anybody understands kind of the constant nature of those tasks, and they will never go away as long as we are blessed enough to have food and blessed enough to have clothes, blessed enough to have, you know, strong bodies that can work in those clothes and get them dirty. It's just, there's so much to be grateful for in all of those tasks. All of those tasks represent how blessed we are if we look at it right. But anyway, or if we, I don't know, right if that's the right word, but if we look at it in a way that now makes this a thing that makes me grateful rather than annoyed. So anything, you can kind of look at it and have a kind of, I think, better perspective. Now I'm like, can I say better? Like a higher perspective. If you want to be like living life on a level that a lot of people don't live on. So like it's normal and common for everybody to be complaining about everything. And I don't want to be there. I don't want normal. I don't want common. I want supernatural. I want better than normal. I want above average, right? So anyway, that's another part of my, so yeah, I'm very philosophical today, but yeah, so the velocity though would be speed with distance. So I started looking at my life and thinking, what can I do to actually move myself forward? What are things that I can do to create some actual forward motion, forward momentum? And I started thinking, okay, well, there's things where probably every day, if I can, every single day, do at least one thing that like gets me ahead, some sort of task that my future self is going to thank me for. And so that's where things like starting a ferment, or doing like today, freezing my turmeric and my ginger, getting all of that stuff done. So it's like those tasks, they only take 10 or 15 minutes. And then sometimes I end up with a day like today where I'll do a lot of those kinds of things. And then that kind of makes up for some of the days when I don't. Like I do just kind of get caught in the hamster wheel grind of just dishes and cooking and laundry, but then still there's other stuff put away. So anyway, kind of looking at that too, I'm adding more and more of that kind of stuff into my life. In now, like with tons of canning and dehydrating and all of this stuff. And that does take time. And I'm willing to take the time. I love taking the time. But it's interesting because that's the kind of stuff where people with kind of more, they're like urban and we're in the city and they don't understand, why don't you just go to the store for that? Or why don't you just do, you know what I mean? Like I'm setting myself up to use up a lot of my hours of my day doing things, even though I don't think it's like oppressive. It doesn't feel oppressive to me. Because for instance, the canner can be going while I'm doing another thing. Actually, a lot of times when the canner is going and you're supposed to kind of watch it, that's when I allow myself to sort of sit at the kitchen table and just like read a book, or, you know, like I do still like live and enjoy my life, but it does take time. So like if I don't want to go do this meeting now because I need to make bread that day, like it sounds crazy, but you try to say I can't come because I'm making bread, and you like, people will just look at you like, are you serious? And now believe me, I am used to doing things nobody else is doing. Okay, I'm vegan, all right, so I'm already used to people looking at me sideways because I do something that they're not doing. But also like I'm very, I don't know how much, no, I'm just gonna say, like, this is my channel. People don't like it. They don't like it. But like, I'm also very patriotic. Like, I still have that inside of me. And it doesn't mean that I don't love other countries and love the whole world and think that there's merit in other countries as well. Like, because I understand the same feelings that I feel about my country, other people feel about their country. And I love that. I love that people have those feelings for where they live. But like, I love my country. I stand for the national anthem. I put the hand on my heart. I take the hat off, right? Like, I have certain values in me that are also completely contrary to what you would think most vegans are like. Not that I'm trying to be mean about vegans. I'm just saying, like, like I'm a mix of so many things. I don't fit in anywhere. There's like literally no place that I fit. But it's just interesting. So I'm so used to being different. And I have this feeling like I don't fit anywhere. And that's fine. Like I just make my own spot to fit in, you know? I'll just like build my own little den, you know, and fit there. As long as I fit with my family, I'm fine. I have an amazing family. But yeah, it's just interesting that I'm realizing lately, all of this to say, I'm realizing lately that is a large source of kind of the discord, in the inner discord of my life, is the fact that I think my heart and my mind are already so in this new life, but I'm still living in the old place, and I just don't really fit anymore. And so like, how do I take care of things like, you know, dance classes and theater, and then the things I'm involved in at church, and the expectations that are on us as a family outside of our home. And it's like I'm trying to build this new thing, and then the old thing keeps like interrupting. And so yeah, it is interesting. It reminds me of a little poem I wrote. I think I'll leave with this, because I'll like do probably like a little snapshot of what the lunch looks like once it's done. But I'm gonna end with this. There was like a poem I wrote, and I can't remember, it was years and years ago. I was going through like, I don't know, just going through some stuff. It was kind of related to a lot of this, I think, which is why it's reminding me. It's like another point in my life when I was going through a lot of transformation and a lot of changing. And it was this poem I wrote basically about a caterpillar. And I need to go through all my old journals and find it. And it was just this thing that came out of me, like a little expression, talking about a little caterpillar living in the tree and doing, you know, eating the leaves or whatever. But the final line is the thing that I remember, because I remember even when I started writing it, I wasn't already in this picture. But it was like, as I wrote the last line, I went, oh my gosh, it's so true. Anyway, the last kind of couple lines were, crawling all along the ground, but wings get in the way. And it was like, oh my gosh. And I had that realization at that moment that I had already transformed, and I was still trying to live my old life. So it was like a butterfly trying to live a caterpillar life. Like, that's not gonna work. It's like with wings, you're supposed to be flying, not crawling through leaves and eating, you know what I mean? So I'm starting to have some of those feelings right now, where it's like, I've already transformed. I'm already different. And I'm still having to kind of like live this old life, but like I want to go fly off and do a different thing. So yeah, it is interesting. And so that's kind of been a source of some discord for me lately. And this is like really overly personal. I guess I didn't know or intend that this would get so personal. But yeah, it's just interesting. That's kind of where I am right now in my life. And I don't know. I'm just going to kind of keep doing what I'm doing. And now we're pulling in more and more of this off-grid stuff, and more of that, and using up more and more of the hours of my day with work that probably seems unnecessary to most people. But these are the same people who spend hours and hours and hours on social media, or just like Netflix and chill. It's like, what do you do with your evening? Like, you just sit and watch TV for hours? And it's like, you know, I might sit and watch some TV at the end of the day, but it's like, I don't know, the reward for the work. Not that people don't work. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think that there's a lot of ways that people waste time. And even if somebody thinks it's a waste of time to hang up clothes to dry, I think it's better than just doing this on Instagram, you know? Like, I think it's still better. So anyway, I don't know. We're going to be living this kind of more analog existence. Like the older I get, and it's like almost push back against all the digital stuff. I'm getting more and more analog. And I do fully recognize the, maybe perhaps almost, I don't know if it's a hypocrisy is quite the right word. Like the contradiction of being like, we're living more analog, but like I'm filming on my phone right now. I'm going to post this to YouTube. But I think it's like anything, as you're using technology, don't let it use you. And so I consider this a tool and a way of kind of spreading a philosophy. And then also, like, I think a lot of people who would be willing to watch these videos probably watch them the way that I do, which is I have something playing while I'm doing another task. Just like even just earlier, right, with my garlic, I was doing that and I was watching some Guildbrook Farm videos. That's one of my favorite channels, by the way. They're really good. And yeah, I was doing a task while the video was playing. So it wasn't like I'm just sitting there watching a video. And I think probably a lot of people who are doing stuff like this, that's what you're doing. You're probably doing a task while you're listening to me talk. So anyway, yeah, or like in the evening when we do have our Netflix, like even just last night we had the TV on. I got some grapes from Whole Foods and they were the sourest grapes that I think I've ever had in my life. They were so bad. And then I remembered I just read about canning whole grapes. And I was always like, why on earth would you can whole grapes? And suddenly I was like, wait a second, maybe you could can these in a little bit of a light syrup and then they would get sweeter. So that's basically last night, that's what I did. I did all the prep work for canning the grapes I got. I just was pulling grapes off while the TV was on. I don't know. I think a lot of people are like that. Anyway, this is getting way too long, but it's okay. I'm like, you know what? I'm like a ferment. I'm like a sourdough. It takes me a while, okay? But hopefully I'm enjoyable enough that people don't mind. As I try to be. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. And again, hopefully I'm going to be able to film my Forever Foods video today. We're going to see if I can get it all set up before I lose my light. Because I want to film it in here. Because this is the best lighting I have in the whole house. So I don't know, I've talked about it briefly before, maybe, but just as a reminder, I live here, okay? This is Central Arizona. My kitchen is a cave in the middle of my house with no windows to the outside. And so is the dining area. Our house is like purposefully set up to not let direct sunlight inside because of how hot it is. So anyway, yeah, this is like one of the only places in the house that has a nice window and like a nice area to film. So that's why I do all my filming in here. Okay, I guess that's it. So I'll go, come back with a little shot of the lunch and then probably a little outtake. Why it took so long to get this segment filmed. All right. Okay, so if I'm leaving then, I gotta say, as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you later. Bye. Okay, here it is. Steaming hot. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, we just did, like I said, a fruit salad, and then that's how the potatoes turn out. Oh my gosh. It is really delicious. I already had a couple bites, but yeah, it turned out great. And yeah, we're gonna dig in, have some lunch, and I guess we'll talk to you guys later. I had kind of an epiphany a few days ago. Sage. What? What? Blah. Sage, Mommy wants to film a video. Sage, I said I want to film a video.